I lost my legs in an accident, but the worst pain awaited me at home. When I found out about Clara's cheating, our whole world shattered. Now I stand before a choice: fight for the past or for myself. I'm Jacob, and for the past 15 years, I've been married to Clara. We've built a life together in the sleepy coastal town of Astoria, Washington, where the Pacific Ocean whispers secrets to the shore, and the mist clings to the hills like a lover's promise. Our home, a weathered but charming 3-bedroom cottage, sits on a bluff overlooking the water. Its creaky floors and salt-streaked windows, a testament to our shared history. We have 3 kids: Leela, who's 12 and obsessed with marine biology; Ethan, 10, with a knack for building model ships; and little Nora, 6, whose laughter is the brightest thing in any room. Together, we've weathered storms, both literal and figurative. But nothing prepared me for the one that hit 4 years ago. It was a foggy morning when I lost the use of my legs. I was driving home from a late shift at the cannery, where I managed inventory, when a logging truck skidded across the wet highway. The crash left me with a shattered spine and a new reality: life in a wheelchair. My arms still work, my mind is sharp, and I've learned to navigate the world in ways I never imagined. But the loss of my mobility was a wound that never fully healed. Still, I adapted. My disability payments cover our mortgage and utilities, keeping our home secure. Clara's job as a part-time librarian and her side hustle selling handmade candles online handle the rest: groceries, gas, and the kids' endless needs, from new sneakers to science fair supplies. We've always been a team, Clara and I. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We'd squabble over small things: my habit of leaving dishes in the sink, her tendency to overbook the kids' schedules. But those were fleeting moments, smoothed over with a shared laugh or a quiet moment on the porch, watching the waves. I always gave in first, not because I lacked conviction, but because I loved her too much to let petty arguments fester. We had boundaries, though. Sacred lines we swore never to cross. Infidelity was one of them, an unspoken pact sealed with our vows. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. It was subtle at first, like the first ripples before a storm. Clara started guarding her phone like it was a treasure chest, her fingers tightening around it whenever I was near. If I picked it up to check the weather or hand it to her, her eyes would flash with something I couldn't quite name. Panic, maybe, or guilt. Once, when I jokingly asked who she was texting so late, she snapped, "It's just work, Jacob. Can you give me some space?" Her tone was sharp, a blade hidden in velvet, and it cut deeper than I let on. I brushed it off, but the moment lodged itself in my chest, a splinter I couldn't ignore. I've never been the suspicious type. I prided myself on giving Clara freedom. Nights out with her book club, weekends away at craft fairs, time to herself when the kids and I could manage. Trust was the cornerstone of our marriage, or so I thought. But as the weeks passed, the signs multiplied. She'd take calls in the backyard, her voice low, the words swallowed by the wind. She'd come home later than usual, her excuses vague: a delayed library meeting, a last-minute candle order. Her perfume, once a comforting blend of lavender and cedar, now carried a faint trace of something unfamiliar, like cigarette smoke or cologne. I told myself I was imagining it, that stress was playing tricks on my mind. But doubt is a relentless thing, burrowing deeper with every unanswered question. Last night, the truth came crashing down. Clara had been up late, pouring wax into candle molds in the dining room, the air heavy with the scent of eucalyptus. So she'd collapsed onto the couch beside me, her head resting on my shoulder as she drifted off, her phone slipping from her hand onto the cushion. It sat there, screen dark, a silent challenge. My heart pounded as I stared at it, torn between loyalty and the gnawing need to know. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I couldn't stop myself. I reached for the phone, my fingers trembling as I swiped it open. Clara had never changed her passcode. It was Lila's birthday, a detail that now felt like a cruel irony. I opened her messages, each tap a step into a world I wasn't sure I wanted to see. What I found was worse than I'd feared. There were 6 men, their names unfamiliar: Derek, Owen, Caleb, and others. The texts were bold, intimate, laced with a familiarity that made my stomach churn. There were photos, too. Clara in poses I'd never seen, her smile radiant but foreign, sent to men who weren't me. One conversation with a man named Derek stood out. The messages were laced with details: meetings at a bar in nearby Seaside, late-night drives along the coast, a motel room booked under a fake name. "You make me feel alive," he'd written. Friday was everything. My blood ran cold as I scrolled further, piecing together the timeline. Fridays were when Clara said she was at her book club, discussing novels I never saw her read. I sat there, the phone heavy in my hands, the world tilting beneath me. The room felt too small, the air too thin. I nudged Clara awake, my voice low but steady. "We need to talk." Her eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to horror as she saw her phone in my grip. "What are you doing?" she demanded, reaching for it. I held it out of reach, my voice calm but unyielding. "I know about Derek and the others." She froze, her face a mask of guilt and deflection. At first, she tried to lie, her words tripping over each other. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not what you think." But I read one of Derek's texts aloud, my voice steady despite the storm inside me, and her defenses crumbled. She slumped back on the couch, her hands covering her face. "Okay," she whispered, "it's true." She admitted to 4 meetings with Derek over the past 3 months, each one a knife to my heart. The other men were just texts, she insisted, flirtations that never went further. But the distinction felt hollow. Then, as if seizing a lifeline, she turned the blame on me. "If you were more attentive, I wouldn't have needed this," she said, her voice rising. "You're always so focused on the kids or your physical therapy. I feel like I'm disappearing." Her words were a slap, sharp and undeserved. Disappearing? I've spent every day of our marriage trying to make her feel seen. I plan date nights, picnics on the beach, dinners at the seafood shack she loves, movie nights in our living room with the kids asleep upstairs. I surprise her with small gifts, a new candle mold, a scarf I saw her admire online. I listen to her stories about work, her dreams, her frustrations, even when my own pain, physical and emotional, threatens to drown me. I've poured everything I have into this marriage, despite the accident, despite the wheelchair, despite the constant effort it takes to keep moving forward. And yet, here she was, rewriting our story to make me the villain. The argument stretched into the early hours, our voices low to avoid waking the kids. I asked her why she didn't talk to me, why she chose betrayal over honesty. Her answers were vague, a tangle of regret and deflection. "I don't know," she said finally. I got lost. It wasn't enough, but it was all she had." As dawn broke, the sky painted in hues of orange and gray, I made a decision. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies, not when trust had been shattered so thoroughly. I told Clara we needed space, that I'd move into the guest room for now while we figured things out. The kids deserved stability, and I wouldn't disrupt their lives until we had a plan. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, but didn't argue. Now, as I sit in the quiet of the guest room, the ocean's distant roar filtering through the window, the weight of it all settles over me. I don't know what comes next. Counseling, separation, or something else entirely. But I know I deserve better than betrayal. I've spent years adapting to a life I didn't choose, finding strength in the face of loss. I'll find it again, for myself and for my kids. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: I won't let this break me. The days that follow are a blur of routine and reflection. I keep things normal for the kids, helping Lila with her science project on tide pools, cheering Ethan on at his soccer game, reading Nora her favorite bedtime story about a mermaid who saves a shipwrecked sailor. But beneath the surface, I'm grappling with questions that have no easy answers. How did we get here? Was there a moment I missed? A sign I ignored? I replay our marriage in my mind, searching for clues. But the truth is elusive, like trying to catch fog in my hands. Clara and I tiptoe around each other, our interactions polite but strained. She's remorseful one moment, defensive the next, and I'm not sure which version of her I believe. I suggest counseling, and she agrees, but there's a hesitancy in her voice that makes me wonder if her heart is in it. I don't push, not yet. I need time to process, to decide what I want, not just for us, but for me. One evening, while the kids are at a sleepover, I wheel out to the porch, the cool night air a balm against my racing thoughts. The stars are bright, scattered across the sky like spilled diamonds, and for the first time in days, I feel a flicker of clarity. I think about the man I was before the accident, driven, independent, always planning the next adventure. The accident took my legs, but it didn't take my spirit. I rebuilt my life once, and I can do it again, with or without Clara. The next morning, I call a therapist recommended by a friend, scheduling a session for both of us. I don't know if it will save our marriage, but it's a step toward understanding, toward healing, or at least closure. Clara seems surprised, but agrees to go. And for the first time, I see a glimmer of the woman I fell in love with, the one who faced challenges head-on. As we prepare for the appointment, I catch sight of myself in the mirror. Tired eyes, but a spark of determination still burning. This betrayal has shaken me, but it hasn't defined me. I'm still Jacob, father, survivor, a man who loves fiercely and fights for what matters. The future is uncertain, but I'm ready to face it, one day at a time. The ocean outside my window keeps rolling, endless and unyielding, and so will I. The first therapy session is awkward, a dance of half-truths and guarded emotions. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Harper with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, guides us through the wreckage of our marriage with a steady hand. Clara admits to feeling overwhelmed, not just by the kids and work, but by the weight of my accident. I didn't know how to grieve for the life we lost, she says, her voice breaking. And I didn't want to burden you with it. It's the first honest thing she said in weeks, and it stings, but it's also a crack in the wall between us. I share my side, the hurt, the anger, but also the love that still lingers, stubborn and unyielding. Dr. Harper doesn't offer easy fixes, but she gives us tools, communication exercises, questions to ask ourselves about what we want. It's not a miracle, but it's a start. Over the next few weeks, we settle into a fragile rhythm. Therapy becomes a weekly anchor, a place to unpack the mess we've made. Clara starts opening up more, not just about Derek, but about the loneliness she felt, the fear that she was losing herself. I listen, really listen, and realize I miss things. Not big dramatic moments, but the quiet ones. Like the way her smile didn't reach her eyes some days. I'm not blameless, but I'm not the villain she made me out to be either. We're both human, flawed and fumbling, trying to find our way back to each other, or at least to a place where we can co-parent without tearing each other apart. The kids, bless them, are a grounding force. Leela notices the tension but doesn't pry. Instead, she drags me to the aquarium for her school project. Her enthusiasm for jellyfish, a reminder of the joy still left in the world. Ethan builds a model ship for me, a tiny schooner with sails made of tissue paper, and leaves it on my desk with a note. For Dad, the captain. Nora crawls into my lap one night, her small hands tracing the scars on my arms, and asks, "Are you sad, Daddy?" I tell her the truth, that I am, but I'm working on being happy again. She nods, satisfied, and falls asleep against my chest, her trust a lifeline I cling to. But the shadow of Derek lingers. I can't unsee those texts, can't erase the image of Clara with someone else. One night, after the kids are in bed, I ask her about him, not the details, but the why. Why him? Why then? She hesitates, then tells me he was a regular at the library, a writer who'd stopped by to work on his novel. He saw me, she says. Not as a mom or a wife, but as me. And I got addicted to that feeling. It's a gut punch, but it's honest. She swears it's over, that she ended it the day I found out. But trust is a fragile thing, and ours is still in pieces. I start digging deeper into myself, too. I join a support group for people with disabilities, something I'd resisted for years, thinking I didn't need it. The group meets at a community center in town, and for the first time I talk openly about the accident, the anger, the fear of being a burden. The others, veterans, accident survivors, people born with challenges, listen without judgment. One guy, Mike, a former surfer who lost his legs to a shark, becomes a friend. You're not your chair, man, he tells me over coffee, but you're also not who you were before. Figure out who you are now. His words stick, a challenge and a gift. Clara notices the change in me, the way I'm carving out space for myself. She starts doing the same, signing up for an art class she'd always wanted to take, painting seascapes that capture the wild beauty of our coast. Her candles take on new life, too. One afternoon, while I'm helping Ethan with his homework, Clara gets a call from the library. It's Derek, asking to meet. My heart stops as I overhear her side of the conversation. Her voice firm, but shaken. "No," she says. "I told you it's over. Don't call me again." She hangs up, her hands trembling, and looks at me, her eyes wide with fear and resolve. "I blocked his number," she says. "I'm done with that part of my life." I nod, not ready to forgive, but willing to believe her, at least for now. The months roll on, and therapy becomes less about saving our marriage and more about understanding ourselves. We decide to stay together, not out of obligation, but because we both see a future worth fighting for. It's not the fairy tale we imagined, but it's real, messy, painful, and sometimes beautiful. We start small traditions to rebuild. Family game nights, walks along the beach, where I push my chair through the sand with the kids' help. Quiet evenings where we talk, really talk, about our fears and hopes. One day, Leela comes home with a flyer for a community art show where Clara's paintings will be displayed. The kids are buzzing with excitement, and I feel a swell of pride for her. The night of the show, our cottage is a whirlwind. Nora can't find her shoes. Ethan's arguing about wearing a tie, but we make it to the gallery. a converted warehouse with fairy lights strung across the ceiling. Clara's paintings line the walls, vibrant and alive, each one a piece of her soul. I watch her mingle with the crowd, her smile genuine, and realize I'm falling in love with her again, not as the girl I married, but as the woman she's becoming. After the show, we drive to the beach, the kids running ahead to chase the waves under the moonlight. Clara and I stay by the car, the air cool and salty. "I'm sorry," she says, her voice soft but steady. "Not just for what I did, but for letting us drift so far apart." I take her hand, feeling the familiar weight of her wedding ring. "We're finding our way back," I say. "That's enough for now." As I watch my kids play, I think about the man I've become. The accident took my legs. Clara's betrayal took my trust, but neither took my heart. I'm still here, still fighting, still loving. The ocean stretches before us, vast and unyielding. Its waves a reminder that life keeps moving, no matter how hard the storms hit. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm ready for it. Wheelchair, scars, and all. The art show marks a turning point, but life doesn't pause for epiphanies. The next few months test our resolve in new ways. Clara's candle business picks up, with orders flooding in from boutique shops. She's thrilled, but stretched thin, juggling work and family. I step up, taking on more with the kids, driving Leela to her club, helping Ethan, teaching Nora to read. Exhausting, but it feels right. In therapy, we dig deeper into the roots of Clara's betrayal. Dr. Harper helps us unpack the years after my accident, how we both buried our grief instead of facing it. Clara admits she felt guilty for wanting more from life. I confess my own fears, that I wasn't enough. These truths are raw, but they bring us closer. One evening, Mike invites me to a wheelchair basketball game. I hesitate. I haven't played since high school, but his grin is infectious. "Come on, Jacob. You've got the arms for it." I go, and for the first time in years, I feel the rush of competition. I come home sweaty and exhilarated, and Clara's waiting on the porch. "You look happy," she says. But happiness is fragile, and Derek's shadow creeps back one rainy afternoon. I'm at the library, dropping off books, when I see him, a tall man with dark hair, lingering by the checkout desk. My gut tells me it's him. When he glances my way, his eyes widen before he hurries out. I wheel over to Clara, who's shelving books. "Was that him?" I ask. She freezes, then nods. "He came to apologize," she says. "I told him to leave and never come back." I search her eyes for the truth and find it. "Okay," I say, and we don't speak of it again. That encounter forces us to confront forgiveness. In therapy, I tell Clara I'm ready to let go. Not to forget, but to move forward. She cries, not out of sadness, but relief. "I don't deserve you," she says. I shake my head. "We're both figuring this out." Dr. Harper suggests we write letters, to burn them later, symbolizing release. That night, on the beach, we do it, the flames curling around our words. Spring arrives, painting Astoria in green and gold. Clara's career blossoms, and I coach Ethan's soccer team. Lila wins a science fair, and Nora learns to ride a bike. These moments weave a new tapestry for our family, one stitched with hope and healing. On our 16th anniversary, Clara and I renew our vows. It's a quiet ceremony on the bluff behind our cottage. Just us, the kids, and Mike. Lila reads a poem about the sea. Ethan and Nora scatter petals, and Clara and I exchange new rings, simple bands etched with a wave pattern. "I choose you," she says. "Every day, I choose you." I echo her words, feeling peace I thought I'd lost forever. The accident reshaped my body. Clara's betrayal scarred my heart, but I'm more than my wounds. I'm a father, a coach, a friend, a man who's learned to love through pain. The waves crash below, relentless and eternal, and I know I'm part of something bigger. I don't have all the answers. Marriage, like the ocean, is unpredictable, full of currents we can't always see. But I've learned to navigate its depths, to trust my strength, to hold fast to what matters. Clara and I aren't perfect, but we're here, building a future one day at a time. As I wheel back to the cottage, the kids' laughter ringing in my ears, I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It really motivates me to keep going and create more stories like this for you.